As far back as I can remember, I've always wanted to stand up for the little guy. I'm Alex Bores, and after becoming a dad 2 months ago, that's never been more literal. My son may be the reason I'm up at 3 a.m. now, but the state of our country was keeping me up before. Someday, this little guy is going to ask me, who is America?
Welcome back to Inside City Hall. We have been following the race for New York's 12th Congressional District in Manhattan, the seat currently held by Jerry Nadler, who is retiring. And that video you just saw features one of the many candidates in the race, State Assemblymember Alex Bores, who is my next guest. He currently represents the east side of Manhattan in the Assembly, including parts of the Upper East Side, Midtown East, and Murray Hill. Welcome back to the program. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So this is an exceedingly crowded race. I think at the current count is something like 9 candidates, which is expected to grow. So talk a little bit about your pitch to voters. How do you distinguish yourself in this very crowded field?
Yeah, you heard the start of it in that video, right? I have a now 3.5-month son at home. I'm a new dad, and I refuse to let my son and the kids all over America grow up in a broken country. I'm running to defeat Trump and Trumpism, to reform the systems that allowed for him to rise, including how tech has been reshaping power, and to deliver a government that is actually working for results for the working families of New York.
I should mention that video, the campaign kickoff video, was shot mostly on a baby monitor.
Entirely on a baby monitor, yes.
I assume is a first in politics. So points for originality, but no AI used in the video. I should mention,
correct,
you have developed a reputation as a leading voice on AI regulation, which we'll get into a little bit, but are you sort of leaning into that, or are you afraid of being sort of pigeonholed as the AI guy?
It's one of many issues we're going to be talking about. I'm talking about affordability. I'm talking about the threats that we're seeing to Social Security, to Medicare. I'm talking about housing, and of course, I'm talking about AI. It's one of many, many topics that New Yorkers need real results on.
And I have heard you talk about your background in the tech industry, right? And with a degree in computer science, which is not something we often see in politics.
I am the first Democrat elected in New York State at any level with a degree in computer science. And I only have to say Democrat because my colleague Ed Rah in the Assembly beat me to it by a few years.
Okay.
But I'd be the first that New York ever sends to Congress with that background.
So let's talk about AI. You know, like I said, you have been a leader on a lot of AI legislation, but maybe most prominently, the RAISE Act for Responsible AI Safety and Education this passed the state legislature earlier this year. I mean, I don't want to give you too much credit, but it seems to me this is one of the most important pieces of legislation in the country because there is no AI regulation on the federal level, and it's been left to states like New York and California and some others, right?
And as this technology has been moving so quickly and we're seeing the federal government take no action, states have been stepping up. So yes, the RAISE Act is the first in the country that would put safety standards on AI as it's developed. We're seeing it affect more and more of our daily lives, whether it's the chatbots that are threatening our kids, or the effect on the workforce, or the effect on our energy bills and our climate. We need someone to just be putting reasonable regulations, right? We can be pro-AI and pro-innovation and still say government has a role in protecting citizens.
Well, we know that it's important legislation because it has made you some very powerful enemies, right? I mean, there's this $100 million super PAC funded by some of the leaders of the AI industry. And we learned this week, I think, that they are spending $10 million to stop you from winning this congressional seat. I mean, what was your reaction when you heard about this?
Well, they're telling people that I am their greatest threat for their quest for unbridled control over the American worker and our workforce and our education system, and they're right about that. I mean, every candidate in this race is going to tell you they're going to fight Trump, but I'm the only one that Trump's fighting against. He designed an executive order specifically to target the RAISE Act, and so far that hasn't passed. So his mega donors are spending $10 million to defeat me. So if you're looking at a bunch of candidates saying, oh, we're going to fight Trump, we're going to fight Trump, look at the one who actually scares Trump's mega donors.
And I should mention, you have raised quite a bit of money yourself. I think I saw $1.2 million in the first day of running, which I believe outpaces any of the other candidates in this race. How did you manage to raise $1.2 million? Where's that coming from?
Honestly, it was humbling and more than I was expecting going into it. It turns out that there is broad support here in New York and throughout the country for reasonable regulations on technology. And so I thought I had a number that was going to beat the field. I didn't think I'd get that high, but I've been blown away by the support of people just wanting a champion in Congress that can really get something done here.
Let me ask you about a little bit of negative press that you got recently. There's an article in the New York Times this week about a fundraiser that you held, not for yourself, but for Governor Kathy Hochul, that I think raised a few $100,000. I mean, I guess it was raising the concern, at least the perception, that this is sort of a pay-to-play situation because you're raising money for the governor. At the same time, you want her to sign your bill into law. This is still before, this is still on her desk. What's your answer to that?
Well, I've always been a team player and have supported the governor and my colleagues. And it turns out that there are a lot of people that want reasonable regulations. I think the governor has been the most forward-looking of any governor in the country on AI, of finding ways to innovate with Empire AI and to protect from chatbots. So it's not like I gave the money. I just said, hey, this is a great governor doing work, and people wanted to contribute. But I do find it ironic that the AI companies are planting stories against a bunch of individuals giving money to the governor, and meanwhile you have the president of OpenAI, Greg Brockman, giving $2.5 million of his own money to tear down the White House, East Wing of the White House and build a ballroom. That feels like corruption where they are looking for pay to play. Individuals giving whatever the limit is, which is maybe 1% of what Greg gave, is a totally different ballgame.
So I mentioned that the bill, the RAISE Act, was passed earlier this year. It's on Governor Hochul's desk. I assume you're having conversations with the executive chamber. What has she said about the bill and whether this is going to get signed?
Her and her team are listening to a lot of feedback. They're hearing from a split tech industry. There are a lot of startups and venture capital groups in New York that have written in support. But there's near unanimity in support among unions, among advocacy groups, among the parents who are seeing what AI is doing to their kids. We did a poll back over the summer that found that 84% of New Yorkers support the RAISE Act. So I expect we'll have good news soon.
You worked before you got into politics, which is not too long ago, for Palantir, the tech company which has developed something of a negative reputation. And that, and talk about part of the reason you decided to leave Palantir, because they've been doing a lot of work with ICE on the federal level.
And that's why I left. I was there for 4.5 years. The vast majority of my work was the federal civilian side. I helped the Department of Justice go after the opioid epidemic, go after people who were committing fraud against Medicare and Medicaid to prescribe opioids and get them out into the community. We helped the Veterans Affairs better staff their hospitals so that veterans could get the care that they deserve and need. I worked with CDC to better track epidemics. But in 2018, 2019, when Palantir renewed a contract with ICE after the Trump administration had started changing the software and putting it to use to deport people, when Palantir renewed that contract without putting in guardrails that I knew they could, I decided to leave.
Let me ask you a couple of more political questions in our last couple of minutes. It seems like the perceived frontrunner in this race is Michael Lasher, the state assemblyman, who people see as sort of an heir apparent to Jerry Nadler. Is he the man to beat in this race, do you think?
I think the man to beat is the one that Trump mega donors have said they're willing to spend $10 million again because they scare them so much. So I think it's been clear who the man to beat is.
And if you were to be elected to Congress, would you support Hakeem Jeffries as the Speaker of the House?
I would. We need to be focused on a government that is delivering for people, not these internecine fights. In my 3 years in the legislature, I've passed 27 bills, which is the same amount Congress as a whole passed in 2023. It's why I was rated the most effective new legislator, and I would take that effort and work to get as much done as possible for the people in New York to Congress.
All right, well, it is going to be an interesting race. Alex Bores, State Assemblyman, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.